Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Kayla Thompson, and I'm Coordinator of Marketing here at ASTA, and I will also be the organizer for today's presentation. We are happy to welcome today's presenters, ASTA's very own Bob Duglin and Jen Whitney. Bob is Vice President of International Membership and Expansion, and works very closely with Jen, who is our Director of Marketing. We also have a special guest from Verit Tours, Ari Maurom, so thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, I'd like to point out a few important features on your screen that will allow you to interact with us via the web. We will be answering your questions at the end of the presentation. To ask a question, you will use your GoToWebinar pane. Near the bottom of this pane is an area that says Questions. If you click on the arrow next to where it says Questions, it will open up a window pane. This is what you will use to communicate with us. If you are having trouble hearing the presentation, please make sure your speakers are turned on, and if you called in, try hanging up and dialing back in again. You can send me any technical issues via the questions pane, and I will try to answer them. I will respond to you via the same pane. Please also note that all audience members are muted. We certainly want to hear from you, but we have so many people on the call that background noise would be prohibitive, and we want to ensure that everyone can hear the entire presentation. Finally, remember that this webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing at asta.org by early next week. We will start off with a brief video on the Destination Expo to Israel. It's my pleasure to introduce Bob, Jen, and Maurom.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that introduction and the video. I think, Jen, those were pictures you actually took when you were in Israel. So, pleasure to be on the call with you today with my colleague, Jen Whitney, and my good friend, Ari Maurom from Verit Tours. So, we're ready to kind of move over to the next slide here. Let's get into it. Got some great information that we want to share with you today. So a basic event overview and what to expect, and it's to discover the key to increasing sales to Israel through certified destination training. It's going to boost your business and inspire your clients. Those that want to attend should be advisors looking to add to their specializations. This will be a great opportunity for that. Sellers of travel to Israel who want to expand upon their knowledge, and inquiring advisors in the search of a wonderful new market. And who you're going to meet is your colleagues from ASTA, local suppliers in Israel, local people, and vendors, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to create your own network of partners to help fulfill your clients' trips. And Kayla, if we want to go to the next slide, let's take a look at what our event program is itself. Our pre-educational journeys, our pre-FAMs, are going to start the 5th to the 10th. On the 10th, we have arrival transfers that are coming in, people that are flying in just for ADE, and your transfers are included. We've got a wonderful opening event at Mini Israel, and what Mini Israel is a theme park of sites from all around the country. So you'll be able to visit all over Israel with one wonderful reception that evening. Then on Monday, November 11th, we'll have our opening general session, our destination education sessions, the trade show, which is going to be very interesting, and our special evening event. The next day, we'll have some more ed sessions for you in the morning, some great B2B meetings, an opportunity to get out and see some at Tel Aviv, and another evening event. Then on Wednesday the 13th, that's going to be your opportunity. We're going to have tours to Jerusalem. So you're going to have the opportunity to visit some of the top sites, the holy sites, the historical sites in Jerusalem. Then November 14th, some of the FABs head out, departure transfers, and our post-educational journeys. Now with registration this year, oh, go ahead. You're good, Kayla, on the next slide. Your accommodations are included with your registration. That's 4 nights at a 4-star and above hotel property. And I'm pleased to tell you we know what those hotels are, and we'll share them with you. Your transfers are included to and from Ben Gurion Airport. We have special events hosted by our partners in the Israel Tourism Ministry. Your sightseeing tours both in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. The ed sessions and the meetings, your B2Bs, almost all of your meals. And then you'll have the opportunity to participate in pre- and post-educational journeys for an additional low fee. So, Kayla, if we could move to the next slide. And let's take a look at the hotels we're going to be staying at. Now, Jen, you put together a nice map. We've got both of the hotels, the Dan Panorama Tel Aviv in the background and the David Intercontinental in the foreground. These two hotels are right next to each other, right on the beach, right by the Carmel Market, right in Tel Aviv. And Ari, I think just up the street from where you have a place as well in Tel Aviv. So these are great locations, beautiful hotels. You know, I live in Fort Lauderdale, and a lot of Tel Aviv and this beachfront area reminds me of downtown Fort Lauderdale with hotels and condos that are right on the sea. So these are wonderful properties and parties at Ari's house afterwards. So we want to move on to the next slide.
Mention that I was, when I was in Tel Aviv in February, I stayed at the Intercontinental. It's a beautiful hotel, I know firsthand, and I was there by myself, so I walked out and walked down to the beach. It was extremely safe and very nice, so I can attest to that firsthand.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a great location. Right in the middle of everything in Tel Aviv. And our registration rates, right now we have an early bird special running for our members up until September 6th. So double occupancy is only $649 per person. And basically all you need to do is get yourself to Israel for that. As soon as you land, we take care of everything till the Destination Expo is over. After 9/6, the price goes up $100, still a good deal. Single occupancy, great deal, $849 for your own room, goes up to $949. And if you have a non-industry guest, the cost is only $699. If you are not an ASTA member or a Small Business Network member, we'll add $199 to the cost above, and that'll include your first-year membership into ASTA. So, Kayla, we're ready for the next slide. And we have a really great selection of pre- and post-educational journeys. And of all these wonderful companies that are providing them, the very first one that we reached out to was Vered Tours and Ari, because he's been such a good friend and supporter to ASTA for many, many years, not only from before coming into this Destination Expo. And you can see some of the other companies we're working with, as well as the Cyprus National Tourist Office. So I think we're ready to head over to the next slide here now, Kayla. And these are some of the places we'll be going. Tel Aviv and Northern Israel. We have a few FAMs in Turkey and Cappadocia. If you haven't been to Cappadocia, it's an amazing place. It's where all the cave hotels are and the hot air balloon rides. There's the Istanbul FAM. And these two are provided in conjunction with those that are taking Turkish Airlines that include a free stopover in Istanbul. So that's the reason those are there. Now, digging more into Israel, we're going to have FAMs to Northern Israel and the Dead Sea, Galilee, the Golan Heights. You'll have a chance to visit a kibbutz. We've got a cultural faith and culinary tour, Tel Aviv and Tiberias. Then we get into different specialties like culinary and wine, the gay and lesbian focus theme, because it's a very hot market for LGBTQ. And then, Kayla, let's go over to the next screen and take a look at the other FAMs that we have. back to Istanbul on the back end, private Eilat and Petra, Galilee and the Golan Heights, 45-minute flight over to the Republic of Cyprus, the Greek portion, northern Israel and the Dead Sea, Israel's Negev Desert, Petra and Wadi Rum, southern Israel, and again, those that want to do pre and post Turkey, as well as in Israel, spa and wellness, and art and culture. So we can head over to the next slide from here. And let's take a look. I'm going to turn this over to my friend Ari right now to talk about the pre and post fans that we have in Israel with varied tours. Ari, please take it away.
Okay, thank you, Bob, and great to be here with all of our great ASTA advisors online. So yes, we're offering a FAM tour from November 5th to 10th. This is kind of our basic tour of Israel for advisors who want to learn about the country, the history. Well, you know, there's so much history in Israel that it's you can hardly move forward, you know, a mile at a time without bumping into something else. So we've tried to pack in as much as we can in those few days before the main event in Tel Aviv. So we're starting in Tel Aviv, spending some time touring Tel Aviv, and then heading up the coast to Caesarea. You can see on the map there on the right, each of those asterisks is one of the stops along the way. From Caesarea, heading up to Galilee, and of course the area around the Sea of Galilee, where so many of the Christian sites are concentrated around that body of water. We'll be taking some time to go up to the Golan Heights, which is a great area. Some excellent wineries up there, and great views down into Israel, into Lebanon, into Syria, and then heading down south of the Sea of Galilee to Beit Sha'an, which is one of the best still standing Roman cities that is located anywhere. It happens to be here in Israel, in the southern part of the Galilee. And then from there, we'll be heading down back to Tel Aviv, where you'll be set to start the main ASTA Expo on the 10th. So that's our main tour, especially for those who have never been to Israel before, that want to get a sense of the history, the religious history, but also the archaeology and all of the great sites, Roman and Byzantine, that are scattered around Israel in really well-preserved sites. So we can move on to the next slide, which is our post FAM. And this is really designed for those who have been to Israel and are repeat visitors. Those of you, those advisors who have been to Israel before and have a handle on all of those historical sites in the north. We wanted to show you a little bit some of the different sites that you may not have seen. Many tours to Israel don't get down to the south, to the Negev Desert. So we wanted to include that. We'll leave Tel Aviv at the end of the Expo, and we'll head down to the Negev Desert. First stop being Beersheba, city of the patriarchs, and some amazing archaeological finds there from biblical times. And then we'll be heading down south into the central part of the Negev Desert to the small town of Mitzpe Ramon, which sits on the edge of a world-class phenomenon, natural phenomenon of a crater called the Ramon crater, which is huge. It's just amazing. And you'll have a chance to actually go down into the crater with a guide and with a vehicle and tour around and see it and inspect it. It's really quite an amazing biosphere with a great visitor center as well that really maps it out and explains it. It's great for your visitors. From Mitzpe Ramon, we'll be heading down further south towards the southern port of Eilat, which is Israel's southernmost city and port city and resort city. And the border crossing is just north of Eilat, just outside of the city. We'll be crossing over into Jordan and heading over towards Petra, the ancient city that was hidden in the desert, the center of the Nabatean Empire that existed at the same time and after the Roman Empire. An amazing city, historical city carved out of the local sandstone. We'll be visiting there, and then we'll also be visiting and staying overnight in Wadi Rum, which is it's actually a nature reserve, but historically it was the area that was frequented by the British Army Colonel T.E. Lawrence, otherwise better known to people as Lawrence of Arabia. We'll be visiting there. It's an amazing nature reserve, and you'll be able to do desert safaris and camel riding and all of that fun stuff there in Wadi Rum. And then we'll be heading down south to the Jordanian port city and resort city of Aqaba. We'll be seeing that area, spending a night there. The next day crossing over to Eilat for you to be able to visit and inspect the great hotels and the city of Eilat with all that it has to offer. And then we'll be getting you back up to the center of the country, to the airport, where, depending on your schedule, when you're for your return flight back to the U.S. So that's our post tour. Again, geared more for people who have never been to Israel before, who have seen the historical sites and want to get a little bit more depth into their knowledge of Israel. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Ari. And Kyle, at this point, do we want to see if anybody has any questions for Ari or Jen? Or we want to talk about a couple other things here. You're right. I'm sorry. Our airline discounts. We have several airline discounts for you on El Al from San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Miami. Turkish Airlines up to 15 to 20% off, and that's an airline code based on class of service. The same with Air Canada and with United. So there's some nice discounts. Air Canada's connections are all through Toronto on brand new 787s. They're absolutely great. And United, I think, is going from San Francisco, Washington, and Newark over to Tel Aviv. So we've got some really good opportunities for you there on flight pricing. And then can we go over to the next screen, Kayla? And our sponsor is the Israel Ministry of Tourism, Israel Land of Creation. And we're also working in conjunction with our partners at the Israel Association of Travel Agencies and Consultants, the Israel Incoming Tour Operators Association, and the Tel Aviv Hotel Association. So we're connected with all the major players that are over in Israel. So once again, we want to thank you. The website is asta.org/Destination Expo or asta.org/ADE, ASTA Destination Expo. So at this point, Kayla, do we have any questions that anyone may have for us?
Yeah, we sure do. As far as the Israel mini park reception, they want to know, when does the event start, and are we providing transportation to the event from the hotels?
Yes, transportation to all of our events is included. Any welcome reception, anything else that we may be doing, the tours, meals, things like that. Yep.
All right, and our next question is, are flights included in any of the bans?
The only flights, no, all the flights you have to book on your own. There are directions on the website, asta.org/Destination Expo. So for instance, if you're doing something in Turkey, then you would book that as part of your Turkish Airlines flight. The ban to Cyprus, you need to book that on your own. The suggestions are on the site. It's only 45 minutes and less than $100 from Tel Aviv to Larnaca site. And I think everything else is ground.
Great. And how will meetings be set up with potential vendors?
They will be, once we have it set up, there'll be an appointment system where you'll be able to book with them or they'll be able to book with you. So we will keep you posted on that.
All right, and we have a couple of questions about hotels. Is there a non-agent accompanying fee? No.
That is the guest rate. It was $649 for members, $699 for guests. So a guest can accompany you on the trip.
All right.
I was just going to jump in here. This is Jen, actually. Both Kayla and I are at headquarters, so we're seeing all of these questions come in. Thank you, everyone. Lots of great questions. It looks like there's quite a few questions about the hotels. For everyone on the call, we found out the hotels late Friday, so this is all new information for us as well. A couple of the questions that are coming in, just to answer them briefly. We have the names of the hotels. We're working out the logistics of how many rooms we have at each. Registered attendees will be notified first about what the process looks like. We'll most likely have a form that we send out to registered attendees and what that process and details look like. So if you're interested, definitely get in and get registered so you'll be the first to know. And then there was a question in regards to, let's see, if are pre-nights available at the hotels. Pre and post nights will be available at the host hotels for an extra fee. So again, what those fees look like and what that process is, we're still working that out with the ministry in Israel. So we'll definitely get that information out to registered attendees first. And then there's a couple of questions too coming in. Is there a way to pair travel agents together? There is, but that would be something you would have to do on your own. So if you go through the registration process and you register as a travel advisor double occupancy, you're saving yourself one spot in one room. And then there's a question if you have whether a guest or another travel advisor that registers and wants to book the same room, it says, who would you like to room with? So that option is available, but you would have to find that out on your own. I'm sorry, I'm just going through. We got lots of good questions coming in. It says, what time will the motor coach be leaving for the reception at Mini Israel Park? Unfortunately, we do not have that time as of yet. Ideally, anyone who is looking to come in to book their flight into Tel Aviv, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would suggest at least trying to get there by 4. That'll give you some time to rest up before evening reception, and that time is to be determined.
Yeah, actually well before 4 because that's going to take you a couple hours to get from the airport through customs and then to the hotel.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Going to here. The cost of the pre and post FAMs, that information can be found on our website. If you go to asta.org/Destination Expo, click on the Educational Journeys tab, you'll have all of the different educational journeys that we're offering, and within each itinerary it shows the price for travel advisors and guests. So a lot of good questions coming in. Thank you, everyone. Can I bring my husband and adult daughter? Basically, guests. There has to be one travel advisor in each room. That would have to be an ASTA member. So if you're bringing multiple guests, there needs to be a travel advisor in each room. So ideally, if you're looking to bring more than 2 people, triples are not at this point offered. So 1 guest per person unless there's another travel advisor in the room. Question about sessions. So what we have just determined and heard from the ministry is that all education sessions, trade show, and B2B meetings will be held at the Dan Panorama. And so that would essentially be our host hotel, if you will. And Bob, maybe you can answer this question. Somebody's interested in knowing what the entry is like at the Tel Aviv airport.
Well, it's pretty much like going into any other airport. You know, there are ebbs and flows as to crowds. It's very new. It's very modern. It's absolutely a beautiful airport, but it really determines the time of day that you come in. Ari, what would you say? Allow at least an hour to get through customs immigration and get your luggage?
Yeah, that's what we usually figure for arriving guests, an hour to get from the plane to passport control, and from there to baggage claim. Yeah, about an hour.
Okay, yeah, but
and then
you're going to be getting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me just add, and then especially people that are looking at their to time their arrival so that they have enough time to get to the opening event. If they're arriving on the day of the opening event, the airport is just outside of Tel Aviv, but with traffic, it takes a good half hour to get from the airport into the city and to the hotels. And the two hotels, of course, are side by side, the Intercontinental and the Dan Panorama. So the timing is going to be the same no matter which hotel you're at. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And as you come in, your passport won't be stamped. They're going to give you a visa, and make sure you keep that paper visa with you and don't lose it because you'll need it when you leave the country. But you don't need to get a visa in advance. That'll all be done upon arrival if you're a U.S. citizen.
Great, thank you both. Again, a couple of questions coming in. Are there going to be any tours concentrating on Christian sites? So we're still working out the logistics of the sightseeing tours. We will most likely have one in Tel Aviv and one in Jerusalem. So I would imagine, Bob, that we would definitely, if you want to speak more to that, that would be great.
Sure, yes, absolutely. And we will have details of that in the coming days. We're just working now with who our ground operator is in Israel, and they'll be setting up the tours for us and letting us know what the options are. And of course, a lot of the sites that we're going to be seeing in Jerusalem are, important to all three of the major religions. So you'll see the Christian, Jewish, and Muslim sites because a lot of them have things that are in common. But we will keep you posted.
Great, great. And let's see, still lots of coming in. There's questions about transfers. For those who might be coming in, say, a day early, if they're coming from Tel Aviv Airport, will their transfer still be complimentary?
Yes.
Okay, great. A couple of other repeated questions, a couple of them asking if they're a citizen outside of the U.S., if they will need a visa. I would say check with the, Bob, where can they check to see if they would need a visa if they're not a U.S. citizen?
I would check with the Israeli consulate or embassy, which you can find online. So I'm really not sure. I know, Canada, you don't need a visa. Most of Western Europe, you don't need a visa. But beyond that, you really need to check the website for the consulate.
Okay, great. And I think that kind of goes in turn. Also, somebody had asked if Tel Aviv honors global entry.
No, that's only for the United States returning from overseas.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, a couple of questions coming in about dress code. So as a registered attendee, we'll be sure to give you all that information in advance, especially if we're going to any religious sites. We'll make sure to make note of that well in advance for your packing. So that's one thing not to worry about. If you are looking to bring a non-industry guest in your room, whether it be a spouse, your partner, or a friend, they will be allowed to attend all of the events. That would include the evening events, the sightseeing tours. That way they can get the same experience as well, with you. So it looks like we've hit the nail on the head with all of them. If there's any questions that anybody had that you would ask and we didn't get a chance to answer, you can email meetings@asta.org. Again, that's meetings@asta.org, and we'll be happy to give you that information. Bob and Ari, do you have any last minute words before Kayla closes us out?
Well, let me just jump in here and let people know that the weather in November is going to be great. There may be, I mean, you know, it's a Mediterranean country, obviously, so it does get some rain, but only in the winter, and it rarely starts before December. So I would say you're pretty much coast-free for your visit. Be warm during the day, even short-sleeve weather during the day. It may need a light jacket or a sweater in the evening, but I think everyone can look forward to a great visit, an enjoyable and a great educational experience as well.
All right, thank you. Again, please be sure to download this presentation from the handout section of your GoToWebinar page before we end today. As I mentioned, this webinar was being recorded, so if you'd like to listen to the presentation again, it will be available to ASTA members at asta.org. Thank you to Bob, Jen, and Ari, and all of you who have joined us for today's webinar. This will conclude today's presentation, and we hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. Please be sure to complete the short survey. They will pop up on your screen any moment, as we greatly appreciate your feedback. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye now.